Good day, my friends. How are you today? I worked this weekend very hard on the second book in a trilogy that I'm working on right now. It's the first thing I've ever co-authored with someone, and he and I went back and forth all weekend with our ideas for the second book. And so within 2 days, I have written about 25 chapters, which is really unusual for me. I don't usually churn it out that fast, but that doesn't mean it's done. Of course, it's just first drafts, but I was super creative, and I started thinking about all the backstories behind stories because what we're writing about is the backstory of a very well known story. It's fictional, but anyway, I started thinking about something that happened years ago as my career was starting. I had published, I think, about 4 or 5 books at the point where I met this couple who had a thing called the Milestones Project, and they were working all over the world taking photographs, really wonderful photographs of children, and they were going to put together a book called the Milestones Project book, and the book was going to raise money for children all over the world. And in a meeting, they asked me if I would be willing to submit a story for their book, and it would be a short story, 800 words probably, and it would be accompanied by photographs that would tie into the story. And so I was very delighted to have somebody ask me to be in an anthology. And they were getting published by a very large publisher. And so I was excited because I thought it would just be a boost to my publishing world. And then they started telling me some of the people that they had secured, Sandra Boynton and Carle. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like celebrity people. So I was very excited, even more excited. So I went right to work. They gave me about 4 different things that I could choose from, different categories of children's lives. And I chose to write about my first pair of glasses. Because my first pair of glasses, like most people, when you finally see the way you're supposed to see, it changes your whole perspective of everything. And so I was going to write a story. I did write a story about my first pair of glasses, and I did what I always do with my books. I had my stories. I had my wife do the grammatical editing to make me look good to my dad, who was an English professor. And when my wife cleaned up my stories, it made me look like I knew what I was doing. And then after that, I sent it to my dad, and my dad really liked it, and made me some suggestions, and I made some corrections, changes, and probably did about 20 drafts of it before it was finally ready. And that was only 800 words, kids, 800 words, and I had to do that many times. But anyway, I was very excited to be one of the first submitters because I had a chance, if somebody else were to write a story about the same category, that it would get bumped. And so I submitted my story to the editor, and the editor responded very quickly and said, "I love this story. It's perfect for the book. Congratulations, we're putting your story in our book." And I was like, "Oh, this is so excited," because I think anyway. So I was just really excited. So I moved on and I was working on some other projects, and then I got a phone call from the editor a couple weeks later after my excitement, and I've been telling everybody I'm going to be in the Milestones Project book, and then the editor said, "Mr. Matat, I'm really sorry, but we're not going to be able to use your story after all." And I said, "Well, I thought you really liked the story." "Oh, I do. I like it very much. It was really well done, and I really appreciate the amount of work you put into it. However, we have another author who has said that she will be in our book, but she wants to write about her first pair of glasses, and we can't have 2 submissions about that story." And I said, "Oh, okay. Um, well, whatever." And then I said, "Well, who is it?" And they said, "Well, it's JK Rowling." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." Okay, so I went from feeling defeated to, I'm going to be in a book with JK Rowling. This is the best thing in the world. Because it was right at the very top of the Harry Potter books. And I was reading them out loud to my kids. And I got to tell my kids, Dad's going to be in a book with JK Rowling, which, that's like your red carpet right there. So anyway, so she said, "Well, you can write about a variety of other subjects. You know, there are different subjects in there. And so here are the 3 categories that nobody has chosen." And one of them was first pet. And I said, "Oh my gosh, well, I think I have a story about my first puppy because my first puppy changed my life." And so I went to work, did the very same thing, um, revised, re-edited, gave my wife the opportunity to make me look better, sent it to my dad, made some revisions and corrections, and submitted it. And they said, "Congratulations, Justin. We are going to use this book." So I went from Mr. Matat to Justin. So now we're on a first name basis. So I did end up in a book called The Milestones Project with Sandra Boynton, Carle, and many others, including Mark Teague and JK Rowling. Now that's a who's who list. I'm not a who's who, but they are. So this is the story that I wrote, and it's accompanied by these beautiful pictures of these children with their dogs, with puppies, and animals, and it's just wonderful. And then what's really cool about this is I have my story over here in the blue, and then all these little orange stories are children's stories about pets. So, and I love Luke's. He's 5 years old, and he writes a story about his first puppy. So this is the story I wrote. I woke up very excitedly on my 8th birthday. My brother accidentally spilled the beans the night before, telling me I was getting a loop-to-loop Hot Wheels set, the second item on my list. Puppy was at the top of my birthday list, but my parents said a dog was too much work for a boy. After a special birthday lunch, Dad loaded us all in his Volkswagen bus to go to our little college town's Dairy Queen, a tradition for us with summer birthdays. Heading down Main Street, we drove right by the Dairy Queen. Dad had a habit of taking side errands when in town. I just wanted my extra-large chocolate cherry dipped cone and my birthday present. Dad headed towards the university, probably to pick up something on campus before we got ice cream. Then he passed by his office. I bounded to the front of the bus, asking where were we going. He grinned widely toward my mom, ignoring me completely. I felt disappointed. It was my birthday after all, Dad's dumb errands. He pulled up behind a small house where a lady met us in her backyard. Following behind was a tired, hot beagle wagging her tail. Behind the mother beagle were 5 adorable little puppies. Dad looked at me and simply said, "Choose." I whipped around. What? Choose which puppy you want. Happy birthday. My stomach flip-flopped. Bending down, I was instantly mobbed by all 5 puppies, licking and biting at my ears, wrestling for my attention. The smallest, a tiny brown and white boy pup, crawled into my lap, resting his face on my leg. One eye closed lazily, and the other looked intently into mine, as if to say, "You are my boy now." I kissed him on the nose, falling instantly in love. On the way home, we got my new puppy a large bag of puppy chow. I named him Frisky. I forgot all about the loop-to-loop Hot Wheels set. Until Christmas, that is. So that's a story I submitted. And Frisky would go on to be literally one of my best friends when I was a boy. I miss him to this day. He was just such a wonderful companion, went everywhere with me. He went fishing with me. He was always with me. He was at my side at all times. And that was one of those momentous days that just changed my life forever. Because I love dogs, and I have a really wonderful dog now named Butters, and I've just always loved animals. Thought I'd be a veterinarian when I grew up. Well, here's just a couple things the children wrote. Sadie was our first dog. She was a Chihuahua and peed everywhere. Mom and Dad made us give her back. Then we got Ginger. She is a great half German Shepherd and half Chow. She pees outside, and she's my best friend. That's from Luke. He's 5 years old from the USA. So now Luke is probably about 20. Here's another one. Even though we already had 2 dogs, they were in our family before I was born, I wanted a pet of my own. I wanted a puppy. One day my parents took me to see some puppies, and they bought a Rottweiler puppy just for me. They made me promise to take good care of it and to train it and be sure it didn't get into any trouble because it was now my responsibility. I named it Bruno. That was from Sean, 10 years old, in Belize. Let's do one more. Let's do one from Christina, age 8, in Venezuela. One very moving moment of life was when my parents gave me a parakeet called Jasmine. I played with her, and she even yawned. She played football and liked to wag from one side to the other on her ball and also in her cage. We had incredible moments with her. I just love children. So the Milestones Project, it's probably still on Amazon. You can probably still get that. If I were you, I'd order it from the Tattered Cover because we need to be really supporting our local bookstores, and I'm sure they can find it if it's still available. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this story, and I hope you'll think about the backstories that'll make your stories even better. But remember, you've got to edit, 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 rewrite, rewrite, rewrite. Have a great day.